What's the name of the podcast again? That's it! Welcome to the Onyx Pathcast. I nearly said welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming. My name is Matthew Dawkins. Well,
doing so good.
Yeah, this will go down as the best opening so far. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Dixie Cochran.
Hi!
And the other guy. Eddy Webb.
What's my name again? That's it. Yes, that was right. That's my name. Thank you.
Oh, you can't blame me, listeners. It's been a very busy week, and a very busy month, in fact. We've all been very, very busy, especially with our outreach on media, going to conventions and so on. There's a lot of travel, and a lot of getting your head down, getting through books as well. We've all got a fair amount of projects buzzing right now. There hasn't really been a down period for a little while yet. But that isn't a bad thing. It just means we are very occupied, very engaged with our work. And we are going to just today mainly be discussing conventions. Some of the conventions we've been attending, our experiences, the differences between them, that kind of thing. But we'll also be going on a bit of a ramble through work in general, how we all are, kinds of things we're up to. Just chatting, that kind of thing.
What, Eddy?
Oh my god, my tattoo. It's just so bad.
Well, let's start with that. Eddy. For any listeners who don't know, I don't want you to describe exactly what the tattoo is. I want you to describe what the tattoo looks like, and maybe then the listeners can guess. This is the worst game ever.
Okay. That's going to be interesting. It is a full color tattoo. It is on my right forearm. It is the silhouette of a man's head facing to the right. He is smoking, and there is smoke coming up from his pipe. And inside the silhouette is a tall building with a clock on it and a bridge with a skyline in the background.
Wonderful. So, listeners, if you can guess what it is, you win a prize. Do post in the comments on the Onyx Path blog, and I will mail that prize to you personally.
What are you talking about?
Is it anti-itch cream? Because I could use some. Oh, man.
It's anti-itch cream. And luckily, through our various sponsorship deals on this podcast, we have an abundant supply of anti-itch cream. If anyone listening to this does work for an itch cream company, not an itch cream company, if anything, that's what we don't want, an anti-itch cream company. We would love to hear from you and discuss sponsorship deals. You know, on that note, I listen. It's funny you should mention that, Matthew. Oh, why is that, Matthew? Well, a lot of the podcasts I listen to have sponsorships, and we don't have any. What's up with that?
Because Onyx Path sponsors us.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally in the title of the podcast that you forgot.
Yeah, but we could be raking in sweet cash dollars or getting free products from Blue Chew and what's that mesothelioma one that's always being advertised on podcasts?
That one's on any of my podcasts. That one's on the TV at 3 a.m.
Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts that seem to say, are you or anyone you know suffering from mesothelioma? If so, we can help. We have specialised lawyers that deal with asbestos cases, etc., etc. Really? I don't know how pertinent it would be.
I've never heard that on a podcast. I've only ever heard that at 3 a.m. on television, back in the day.
Oh, there you go. Maybe mesothelioma is on the way out.
Yeah, but really... Where are our free Blue Apron boxes? Where are our free Casper mattresses? Where's all of our free stuff?
Blue Apron? Blue Apron. They those food deliveries you get in America.
I just said that one.
Yeah. It always sounds good, but is it very expensive?
My roommate did it for a little while, and apparently it can add up. But if you just do it 2-3 times a week, it's not that bad. I think it's. Most of them run between $7 and $12 per person per meal. So it's cheaper than going out to eat usually.
Yeah.
You still gotta do all the work.
So just to summarize, your response to the fact that we're not doing Blue Apron ads is to do right now a Blue Apron ad.
Well, that's Blue Apron, if you're listening, you can do it. We've just shown we've got the goods. Get in touch. For God's sake.
He asked how they were. I had an actual personal anecdote. What do you want from me?
No, I mean, I was just going to say, I actually did use Blue Apron for a while, too. So
what is this episode about?
There you go, conventions. But before we get on to conventions, the convention of Blue Apron. I was introduced to a new term just this week. A new phrase. Mm-hmm. A bio break. Have you ever heard of bio break?
Yeah, because I was an online gamer for 12 fucking years.
Yeah, okay, so I've never heard of the term bio break before in place of bathroom break or,
I think it became bio break because you have to, like, it's the break you take when you're going to do all the things that you biologically need. So you might, like, get water, get a snack, use the bathroom, whatever.
Well, that's what I was thinking. So, sorry to be crude, listeners, but I didn't know. I thought, okay, so this person is either going to go... is either going to go for a pee, a poo, can I get something to eat, something to drink, might be going to jerk off, no offence, could be doing anything, maybe having some exercise, could be doing all of them at once, could be doing star jumps, chap in hand, with a sandwich in his mouth.
Worst mental image I've ever had in my entire life, and I've read Book of the Fallen.
Well, Wow. Well, and so I was sat there in this meeting waiting for this person to return from their bio break, wondering exactly what they were up to because it's so nebulous. And thinking that if you are doing star jumps while doing any of the other, you probably require at least 4 dots of dexterity, with maybe a speciality in, well, bio breaks in athleticism, maybe, athletics. But yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd introduce you to something new that I had heard, but clearly it's not that new. It's just I am out of touch with today's or the last 12 years worth of gamers.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I was saying it's just natural that Matthew's out of touch, being the youngest of all of us.
Well, yeah, no. When I played World of Warcraft, that was always what we called it. Like if we were doing a raid, and like everybody wanted to take 10, there'd be like, "Hey, bio break, 15 minutes, come back." We're gonna fight monsters again. So yeah,
it's a nice phrase because I admire it for its nebulousness, but at the same time, it's also mysterious. I think.
What biological functions are you hiding in your break?
Exactly. What are you doing while I'm sitting here? So, on that note, conventions.
What? Oh,
that's a hard segue. Wow.
Oh my god. What is this episode?
Here's grinding on that segue.
What is happening?
Well, you all know I get to host every 3rd episode, so it's bound to go off the rails. So yeah, we've all been to conventions recently. And Dixie, you went to... Actually, that's a good question. I was about to say, you probably went to the largest one, but I'm not actually sure how big PAX West is. So, Dixie, why don't you tell us first about DragonCon? What is it? How long have you been going there? What's it about?
DragonCon is really interesting in the world of cons. So, I've been going to DragonCon. This was actually my 20th year. My first year was 1999. It used to just be in like 1 or 2 hotels in downtown Atlanta. I mean, it started in 1 hotel, obviously, as most conventions do. And has since exploded to where there are now 5 host hotels and a convention center that we take over. This year they said we had 85,000 attendees. So it was like every year that DragonCon happens is the biggest year ever. I've never seen them stop selling badges. So they just go forever. Now, what's interesting about DragonCon versus like a Gen Con or PAX West or a Comic-Con is that DragonCon is entirely fan run. It's all fans and volunteers. So there is no corporate sponsorship of any kind, which means that we don't have some of the like booths and gaming companies that you would expect to see. Like there is on a giant Wizards of the Coast booth when you walked in because it's on a gaming con. But all the vendors can just sign up and pay for their booth and vend things. And it's always kind of a weird like grouping of, there's Ultra Pro selling their Magic sleeves and there's Chessex selling dice, but also here's this person selling tiny handmade buttons that are very cute, and like you never really know what you're going to find in the vendor hall. DragonCon does not have any specific fandom it's about. It's not about dragons by any means. That's just called DragonCon. So you'll see, like, I think this year the costumes I saw the most were Aziraphale and Crawley from Good Omens and Scoops Ahoy Steve from Stranger Things. There were literally hundreds of Scoops Ahoy Steves. Everywhere you turned around, there was somebody wearing a Scoops Ahoy hat. Gosh. DragonCon is just, it's so hard to describe. It's a huge community of just really cool people. My roommate described it as the internet, but without the shitty comments. Like, it's all just people being like, you look awesome, I love your costume, you're great. DragonCon is also kind of meme culture sometimes, in that many years ago they changed the carpet in the Marriott and a whole bunch of other shit happened, and now people show up wearing clothing and costumes that are patterned like the old carpet in the Marriott. That's a very common thing. It's the cult of the Marriott carpet. There was a trash can that used to be at the bottom of a flight of stairs that got removed, and now every year people set up a shrine to Trashy. First thing. It is meme culture. I'm not even joking. Like, we will take anything and we will make it a thing that we love, but only if it's a garbage thing. Because the Marriott carpet is ugly, but we all love it. This year there was a standee of a FedEx worker who we named John. He got covered in Sharpie and stickers and stuff, which is weird because usually DragonCon doesn't vandalize things. They're actually usually really respectful.
Right.
But he got vandalized. He had a lay, he had stuff, and eventually he was taken away, I'm assuming, by FedEx, and they built a shrine in his place. And next year, I anticipate seeing hundreds of members of the cult of John the FedEx guy. It's a weird big family. I've got people that I've been seeing there almost every year for the 2 decades I've been going. We've got every year I will inevitably meet somebody who it is their first year, and I'll go like, oh no. Because, like, I got to ease into the 85,000 person 7-building DragonCon.
Right.
The people that just show up and that's what it is. I'm like, I can't imagine. The other difference with DragonCon versus, like, Gen Con or one of the other ones is that because it's not only in a convention center, it is 24/7. There is no stopping at DragonCon. There are parties and dances and concerts that go until 3, 4 in the morning. There's a dance every night in the Marriott that goes from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. And then panels start back up again at 8. So, like, you never know what you're going to see just walking around. I have been involved in mobile dance parties. I have been involved in random sing-alongs. I've gone to really cool panels. I met some, like, Sailor Moon voice actresses this year, and that was really cool for me. Yeah. Especially because they're also Fire Emblem's Three Houses voice actors, which is the game of the moment right now. There's huge stars that come, like George Takei was a guest this year. William Shatner's been there. David Tennant was there this year. And then there's also, like, smaller stuff from smaller fandoms because it's fan run. So if enough people are interested in it, they just ask people to come and hang out in the Walk of Fame. I don't know. It's so hard to explain, but it really is just like a giant cool party. A lot of us call it nerdy gras. That's another good way to describe it. During the day, it's a little bit more family friendly. At night, sometimes not so much, but it's not, like, awful. There's no nudity allowed, at least on the main con floor.
Right.
But yeah, it's just this party that takes over, like, 5 blocks, 6 blocks of downtown Atlanta every year. There's a huge parade every Saturday morning. It's like a 3-hour parade, 4-hour parade that, people bring vehicles. Like, it's a legit parade. There aren't, like, floats so much, but some people do, like, make float things out of their cars. I've walked in the parade with a band I'm friends with for a while. I haven't done it in a few years because it is really, really hard to get up at 7 in the morning on Saturday at DragonCon and put on a bunch of costumes and makeup.
And then walk for 3 hours.
Unless you're already up.
Yeah, exactly. But it is really, really cool to watch. A lot of locals come out and watch it too, even if they're not at the con. But yeah, no.
DragonCon is. I live in Atlanta for listeners who don't know, and so DragonCon is a staple of the city. I mean, people are definitely aware of it. People will come down to DragonCon just to watch the parade. People who aren't normally in the fandom will talk about the Gen Con parade. I was DragonCon parade. My brain's all over the place right now. But I took our train system, and I use the word system loosely, MARTA, to get to hang out with Dixie for a day. And so there are people on the train in costume, of course, and the people nearby are just like, oh, DragonCon. They're just like, oh, okay. That's why a guy's carrying a large foam sword, because it must be DragonCon.
Yeah, I think most of the folks are used to it. Like all the hotel people I talk to, like I stay at the Hilton, which is one of the host hotels, and all the hotel employees are like, "We love you guys. Y'all are the best." Like, and like I'm like, how are we the best? Like, I feel like you would be really annoyed to clean after us versus like an accountant's convention. But I think that since all the hotels have gotten so in the spirit of it, like, a lot of them let their employees dress up during Dragon Con, like, while they're working, as long as they have their name tag on. Mm-hmm. And I think that they just enjoy the people watching for those several days, you know? Because, like, yeah, maybe you're still doing your kind of boring job, you know, selling soda and wine and coffee to people, but you're selling soda and coffee and wine to, like, Darth Vader and Maleficent and like just people in these wacky like robot costumes. You might not even know what they are. Like, I know that when I do Borderlands, like, not everyone knows the costumes, but the people that do are like, that's awesome, you know. And even if they don't, they're like, oh, that's cool looking. Like, you look like a cartoon, because we cel shade our costumes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, seeing Eddy was really cool, because you said that you had been to Dragon Con in several years, right?
Yeah, it has been like 4 or 5 years since I've been. Yeah,
so you've like seen what it's become, because you weren't there before when it was in America's Mart, when it was the big giant vendor room, the 4-story vendor hall, mind you,
right, which is huge. Oh my god!
There are 3 floors of just whatever vendors, and then the top floor is the comic and pop art alley, which is an addition to the fine art show that is in a different hotel.
Yeah, and like the last time I went, like the vendors room was kind of scattered across a few different hotels. Like, one was shoved like kind of in a basement level, and
yeah, that was the basement of the Marriott. It was really annoying to get to.
Yeah, and everything was crammed together really tight. If I remember the one time I was there, so I mean, I hadn't been for a few years for a variety of reasons, and this year was partially because I was at another convention, actually. But when I went there, yeah, Dixie was nice to kind of show me around. I was like, hey, you know, look at stuff, and it has grown so much, even just in the few years since I had been there. So yeah, it's definitely getting bigger and bigger.
We didn't even go to the gaming area when it was me and you together. I only like dropped in there with Laura. Mm-hmm. But there is, like, in addition to people playing, like, you know, Magic and D&D and stuff, like actual Adventures League stuff happening in America's Mart Building 1, there's also a giant arcade where they bring in a ton of, like, Japanese arcade games and, like, all the dance games. And, like, it's intense. Like, this arcade experience is really cool. But it's also like, what? And for 2 of the dances that I went to this year, there's one called the 8-Bit Ball and one called the Heroes and Villains Ball. The 8-Bit Ball was great because it was mostly 80s music, which is my jam. Mm-hmm. But, like, they actually added a new venue to the place. It's a ballroom, because the ballroom in the West End they used to have it in always got to capacity, and then there was like an hour-long line and everybody hated it. Mm-hmm. So they rented essentially a ballroom space that connects to the West End that is like owned by somebody else, and had the dances in there, and it was really cool because we still packed that place. Like,
wow.
There's so many people at Dragon Con. Like, if you're not at least a little okay with that, or, you know, if you don't have a place you can go to, like, unwind. Like, my roommate Laura, who I go with, she will occasionally just go to the room for like an hour, because she's more introverted than I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, cool, go. And I'll come back and I'll find her, like, playing on her phone, watching TV. Which is something that's cool about Dragon Con, is that Con TV is something that they broadcast in all the hotels. So if you don't want to actually, like, I don't like standing in 4-hour lines for panels anymore. I am over that, I guess. I did it a few times when I was younger, and I'm like, I could be doing something else in those 4 hours. But they broadcast almost all the panels on Dragon Con TV, so you can just tune to that in your hotel room. So if you want to watch, like, I woke up one morning and George Takei was about to speak, and I was like, cool, like, while I'm getting ready and putting my makeup on and stuff, I'll just watch George Takei talk. And then we got a couple of, like, Gotham panels. And this year, which is new for me at least, that I saw, they had sign language interpreters for a lot of the big panels. And also for a lot of the interviews they were doing, they would pop them into a little, like, circle or box in the bottom, so that people even watching Con TV, since you can't really subtitle it in real time that easily, that way folks watching, like, the costume contest could hear what the hosts were saying. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, Dragon Con used to have a bit of a problem with accessibility, and I think they've gotten way, way, way better over the past few years from what I've seen and from what I've heard. And also just the attendees have gotten better about going like, hey, this person in a wheelchair, so clear out the elevator because this person needs it first, like that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really happy with that. It's cool that they're doing all that stuff.
It sounds amazing. Maybe an understatement. I mean, I don't... Obviously, I've been to Gen Con several times.
Yeah.
I've been to New York and Chicago Comic Cons, but the way you describe Dragon Con sounds, on one hand, utterly fantastic and unoverwhelming. And it just sounds like there's so much to explore there. I think it sounds like the kind of convention you could go to and feel comfortable you haven't even touched the sides of what you could be doing there if you only went once.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel every year I go. I'm like, oh, look, there was this party I never even heard of. Or like, I'll start seeing pictures of like a costume people did. And I'm like, I didn't even see that because, they were doing it in the Marriott and I happened to be in the Hyatt at that time or whatever. Mm-hmm. In the links, I'll make sure whoever's doing the show notes, I'll send you some links to my friend Micah's videos he does of DragonCon. Because I think that he does the best like expression of kind of what it is. And he showcases a really cool, diverse selection of like costumes and partying and stuff. So I will throw a couple of those in there if anybody's interested in seeing what kind of the DragonCon experience is like. It's overwhelming sometimes. Laura and I used to cosplay more, and this year we only did one costume, and past that we do very low-key con now. Like, yeah, I'll put on like a skirt and a corset and like big boots and walk around at night, but that's about as far as I go. And during the day, half the time we're in jeans and tank tops, just like, it's hot, it's Atlanta, we're just looking at stuff, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But like, it's intense and it's really fun. And you can have a good time at DragonCon, literally just like parking yourself on a bench in one of the hotels and just watching people walk by. I have done that for hours before. Or just standing on one of the area, like, they of course set up like bars throughout all the hotels because DragonCon's a party con. I think the big difference for me between those and things like Gen Con and whatever is that because those have an end time, because it hits like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and the main room closes at Gen Con or Comic Con, and then everybody has to kind of disperse into the city and figure out where they're going to hang out and find their friends. So like, yes, there are parties, but it's like, 50 people at this bar and 100 people at this bar and whatever. And that's kind of how those cons go. Maybe 10 people in a room somewhere having like a room party. DragonCon just doesn't stop. So, like, if you're partying, you're still with everybody the whole time. Like, yes, the vendor room closes, but that's 2 blocks away. Nobody's going to walk down there anyway. The Marriott never closes. The Hilton never closes. The Hyatt never closes. So, yeah, like, you just find stuff to do there. Like, nobody needs to go to an outside bar to meet people afterwards. All the bars are already there.
that appeals to me a great deal. As we know, as we've already ascertained, if I can break off and just head to a bar, that's my idea of a good convention.
Right. So, I mean, DragonCon is a bar. Like, if you want to roll down out of your room at 11 in the morning and grab a beer, like, there's bars set up already.
It is definitely a party convention.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
And I mean, I have a lot of friends, like, my same roommate doesn't really drink that much. I think she had, like, 3 drinks the whole weekend. So you could definitely have a good time without drinking, obviously.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
It's just very easy to drink if you want to. And there's usually... So since Avengers was filmed in and around Atlanta, for the most part, the beer that Thor drinks, I think, is local. The one that he's drinking in Endgame. And so they were selling that at a lot of the hotels. That was like the beer of the weekend. Nice. A lot of the places get into it with like nerdy beer. Also, King of Pops, the fancy popsicle people, had stands set up at every single hotel, sometimes multiple stands at hotels. And there were ice cream places. There was a place selling alcoholic ice cream in my hotel, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah, no, you can't. It's a lot, but it's a lot of fun. It truly is nerdy gras, and it truly is like the internet without the comment section. I'm not saying there's no bad actors there. I know everybody has a story here or there about someone who was a shithead or someone who got too drunk and did something terrible at every convention.
Right. But
the overall feeling when I'm there is just positivity. So it makes me happy. I'll be going back next year. I already have my hotel reservation because we have a legacy room, and they just book us 3 days after the con ends. Yep.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I don't know that the alcohol is the appeal for me, but I know that whenever I attend these conventions, the allure of a cold drink in a hot city is always is always incredibly tempting, especially if I can go from the contrast of a really loud place full of bodies to a slightly quieter place where you can have a conversation with someone. That I don't know why, that there's something in me that really appreciates that about a convention.
I will say that they're like, I also kind of feel that way, especially now that I've gotten more used to going off-site because I've been going to more things like Gen Con. And there was a bar right across the street from one of the hotels that congoers like sleep on for some reason, because it's a really good bourbon bar. And I took people there 3 separate times over the weekend where I was like, hey, you want to go sit down in the air conditioning where it's not super loud for a minute? Let's walk right across the street. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that was White Oak I was telling you about, Eddy.
Oh, yeah, right. You're talking about White Oak. Okay.
Yeah. But like, they have really good drinks.
If you're listening, you can sponsor the podcast. We'll take free supplies of bourbon. Eddy, where were you?
So I was all the way across the country in Seattle at the same time, roughly the same time. I was at PAX Dev / PAX West, which is an interesting dynamic. PAX Dev is a 2-day show from Tuesday to Wednesday, but it's just about video game developers talking to each other. So it's almost entirely panels, and it's basically panels about different topics that people want to discuss about in the industry, making design, concerns, whatnot. The general convention is considered to be what's called a black box event, which means that attendees are expected not to tweet or talk about what they hear about in the panels unless the panel goers specifically give permission.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I mean, it allows us to be a little more honest and open about concerns. Like one of the ones that was kind of given permission to talk about was discussion of unionization in the video game industry. Obviously, it's a hot button topic right now, and people sometimes want to share private stories about concerns or problems they've had at the companies they worked at or perhaps even currently work at. And in my experience, video game developers love the gossip, so usually get us around a bar and I'll hear all sorts of stories about good and bad things at different video game studios. And it's all believed and considered to be under what I generally call friendly A. You know, it's the
right.
We don't talk about it beyond the concepts of this. So it does make talking about the show a little challenging at times. But for me, it was good in the sense that I got to see a few people that I know in the video game industry, and it is primarily video games. I got to meet some of my old friends there. I met some new people. In particular, I did meet quite a few disability advocates were at the show. That's the reason why I was there, was to talk about disability advocacy and disability consultation. So I got to meet some like-minded people, and we shared cards and shared stories, and there was catharsis and crying, and it was great. But one of the panels that they were very open about their topic, which I ended up tweeting Matthew or messaging Matthew about, was someone actually put together a panel about what video game design can learn from professional wrestling. And actually, one of the people on the panel was a local professional wrestler who was a champion of a group called Defy. And so they spent a lot of time breaking it down. And I'm just like, how am I not on this panel? But it was a lot of fun. And so like some of the panels are really fun like that. And it was actually a lot of really good information. And Matthew and I shared some emails. I showed them the information from that, and we talked about how we can use that for one of the books we're working on. And so, I mean, it's really good to have that kind of private conversation, I think, to be able to talk about, okay, this is, something that's been bothering me, or, hey, I'm struggling with getting freelance work or whatever. The other thing that they did new at this show is PAX generally has badges that have no names on them. They're just blank badges, but there's an RFID chip in them. So if you go to any event or panel, they actually have the volunteers will have phones that can check to see if you have a valid badge. So they prevent them from checking counterfeits or whatnot, which is nice. But on this year, they had a little dotted hexagon in the bottom right-hand corner. And I was like, oh, what's this for? It turns out that that is for pronoun stickers. So when you go to check in, I went through different check-ins, so I didn't see this at first. But if you check in normally, you have the option to get pronoun stickers put on your badges so everyone knows your pronouns by looking at your badge, which is a really cool step, I thought.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
It was a nice little kind of step towards it because badges are, since everyone has to have their badge visible, it's a nice way to kind of quietly check someone's pronouns without having to make it a big deal. So it was a really cool step.
DragonCon has your real name like printed under whatever name you put on your badge, but you can still pick whatever badge name you want. So like usually my badge, like name on my badge will say like Dixie Cyanide or like at Dixie Cyanide, just in case people want to find me. But then underneath it'll say like Dixie Cochran and like the city and state you're from. But like because they like type whatever you want, I have seen people put their pronouns there, which I think is really a cool use of that tool.
Yeah.
So then there was Thursday was a blank day, and so I did some work there. But then Friday through Monday is PAX West. Because I went to PAX Dev, it comes with a free badge to PAX West. And I had never been to either show, actually, but specifically I'd never been to PAX West. I had been to PAX East, and I'd been to PAX Unplugged, but I hadn't been to West, which is kind of the initial show. It's sometimes called PAX Prime. That was the first kind of show for the Penny Arcade Expo.
I'm so sad I never went there when I lived in Seattle. Like, what was wrong with me?
And definitely it's in a lot of ways the opposite of what Dixie described for DragonCon. It's a very polished show. It's definitely a professional show. The main point of the show is to show video game people new video games.
Did you just call us rough and unprofessional at DragonCon?
Not rough and unprofessional. There's a there's a chaos that occurs in fan run shows that is not the same as a professional show. I mean, like, it's like Gen Con versus, say, Midwinter, I know, I will take it. I'm just saying. It was just like it is the opposite in that it is good. No. So it's, I don't want to bag on the show. It's like I really enjoy my time at PAX West, but at the same time, there's a kind of sterility there that I found a little off-putting.
That's what I found at my first Comic-Con and stuff too. I was like, this is very corporate.
Right. Like, they had a little arena where people could play games. They put their game up on the screen, but it was also well-known Twitch and Mixer players that I didn't recognize, but it was clear they had a fan base and people were there to cheer them, and they had an announcer and they had a commentary team. And so it's all very cool and professional looking, but also it just didn't have sometimes occasionally the energy that a fan run convention has. But there was like tons of video game booths. You could sign up usually for the more popular ones. You have to kind of actually sign up for a time slot to show up that you play the game. But they had like the demo of the remake of Final Fantasy VII. They had a huge bike you can sit on and take a picture taken if you play the demo. That Monster Hunter had a huge dragon statue, ice kind of dragon statue thing that was like
that was cool,
15 feet tall. So I mean, it's a lot of fun to just walk around and look at the different games that are being played, and there's kind of the spectacle of the thing. But there also are other kind of side parts in different, because that's all in the convention center, and then like there are other bits around that has some other interesting things. Like they have the handheld lounge. Which is basically you take your DS or your Switch and there's just beanbags everywhere. And you sit around and you play your handhelds, or you get like, kind of, so some people are doing like pickup tournaments of like Pokemon or Smash Brothers or whatever. But it's also kind of a nice place to kind of just chill out. And so I walked through there with my DS and walked out, and they had like 20 new hits for my Fire Emblem Fates game. And I was just like, oh my God, but it was a nice place to, like you were talking about earlier, Matthew, it was a slightly quieter place. You could sit down at a table and just kind of decompress for a bit. They also had explicitly a quiet room. So if people who are neurodivergent or whatever can really get into a very quiet space if they need to, and that was available. They also had the diversity lounge in general, which I spent some time in for queer people, for disabled people, to learn about groups like Able Gamers, which is a group that's not only talks about disability in gaming, but also increases awareness of specialized controllers for disabled gamers to be able to play better. And there's also a Take That, which talked mental health in video games. So there's a lot more than just standing in line for hours to play the latest game. But unlike DragonCon, where there's just kind of let's have all sorts of stuff kind of crammed together in one space and excited about it. It's a game based around playing video games. Everything kind of spins off from that. There was a tabletop room, but it was in a different hotel. There was kind of a causeway between the two big video game spaces that had some magic and dice booths. But again, it was very clear that tabletop was kind of a secondary concern as opposed to, like, say, PAX Unplugged, where obviously it's reversed. The tabletop board games and role-playing games are very much the focus of the show. So, I mean, it was an interesting kind of dynamic. I'm glad I went there. I went there primarily for work purposes. Again, I was there to talk, but also I went for a day at West to kind of meet people, try to put my business cards in front of potential clients, so it was all just kind of work and hustle. But I did get a chance to walk around Seattle, which I had never been to before, and that was, really cool. Had dinner with some friends late in the evening one night. So, I mean, it was an enjoyable experience, but it was definitely very different from most other conventions I've been to.
Right. Yeah, that's what most of my friends that I've gone said. I know my friends Tori and Josh were actually there. They were at PAX West, and they had a bunch of reports on various things, such as the 3-hour line to play the Final Fantasy demo, or the I think it was like a 30. They had the Borderlands 3 demo there too, which, like, I know Tori and Josh from Borderlands cosplay, so. And they were saying that, like, the line to play the demo was like 2 or 3 hours. Yep. The line to get your, like, cool augmented picture taken that they were doing, the, like, cosplay tour, was only like 30 minutes. So they did that, which was cool. I think there's a picture of Tori sitting on the Final Fantasy bike too somewhere that I saw. So yeah, they seem to enjoy it. Like, they were there in cosplay too, so they were there having a good time to
Yeah, there was definitely some cosplay there. And again, they're like, PAX is really good about, cosplay is not consent and making sure that's all very clear. But
he says Dragon Con.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was probably on the par of Gen Con, in the sense that seeing a cosplayer is kind of the occasional interesting moment as you walk through the show. It's not a regular constant like a show like Dragon Con.
Yeah, that's the thing that I like about Dragon Con that I always feel a little sad about when we're at, like, Gen Con or PAX Unplugged or something, is I'm like, I want to see more costumes, because like, people, like, Dragon Con on some level, much like kind of BlizzCon, is a cosplay convention. Right. Like, there are giant group photo shoots every hour on the steps outside the Hilton. Pretty much any group you can think of. There are giant group photo shoots elsewhere throughout the con, and it's not uncommon to see, like, 100 people dressed as different versions of Deadpool, like, walking through the hotel in a conga line to eventually go take photos. One time, me and Laura were trying to go get food, and we got stuck behind the Deadpool conga line and had to wait, because we got trapped by them by accident, and we just had to wait. We had to wait forever.
One of Deadpool's known powers from the comics.
Sorry, what?
Conga line of clones. Yes. There's one of Deadpool's known powers from the comics.
Yeah, it was funny, but it's a strange place to be. Right. There are some surreal things that happen there. I think on the very last day, Laura and I are both just a little bit tired. We're like, it's too much. There's too much happening. I want to go home. There's too much.
This is interesting because I think the 3 conventions we went to are markedly different. The one I attended was Tabletop Scotland, which is in its infancy. I think it's only the 2nd year it's been running this year, and it's the first time I've ever attended. I was invited up there as a guest, and I was provided with accommodation, that kind of thing. It was very nice of the hosts. The convention is, as the name implies, a tabletop gaming convention. I don't believe... No, I think there was some LARP going on there as well. Okay. Although I wasn't there to witness that. I was mainly running games, on panels, and talking to gamers, signing books, that sort of thing. And really, it is very much more low-key than either of the 2 conventions you attended, but very importantly to me, I think it's the kind of convention I really enjoy these days. I like being able to go to a convention where it is just about the games. You get to meet lots of new players, and if you're there from a business standpoint, lots of potential customers. It's less about networking because it's so new. There aren't too many companies attending, although Modifius were there in a couple of freelancer capacities. Handiwork Games was there. We had a few of the big retailers from the UK there as well, but not many international publishers, I don't think. So it was very intimate, quite low-key, occupied a pretty sizable convention centre with room to expand, and I feel because the number of attendees, I think, around doubled from year on year, it's definitely going to expand into the space available.
Good.
Which resembles 2 hangars with a hallway between them. About the only complaint I had was about the heat, which, surprisingly for Scotland, was quite overbearing.
Oh, really?
And despite us being in very roomy hangars, there was no wind, so the air couldn't circulate, and no air conditioning either.
Oh, God.
So it was just a couple of hangars with a lot of humidity trapped inside it, and, of course, the lovely spice of gamers being thrown into that. It's a wonderful mix. But I think that spice of anyone being thrown into a very humid hangar would make a bit of a unbearable heat. So yeah, I ransomed They Came From Beneath the Sea and played in some Vampire, which made for a nice change. I'm finally getting a chance to play in games of Vampire now. And as I think I mentioned on the Onyx Path blog, the fact that people are responding to They Came From Beneath the Sea without even playing it is always very heartening to me, because it's a game that provokes such mirth from its players, and people just shouting out quotes, hopefully not being inconsiderate to other tables, is enough to draw people's attention, so that if they're just passing through the gaming hall, they might stop by and just take a look, see what you're playing, and if they're playing, they might say after their game, they might come over to you and say, hey, what were you playing? That sounded like a lot of fun, which makes me feel a little bad, because they're getting up straight away from their gaming tables, their GM's packing up the game, the players head straight over to us and say, what's this? They Came From Beneath the Sea. But you know what, I'll take it as a compliment, and if they can't make their games fun, then that's on them. But yeah, I think the best thing for me about going to Tabletop Scotland, it being such a new convention, and in a country I hadn't visited before, I've never been to Scotland.
Which is still so weird to me. You live so close.
Yeah, well, you know, I live close to Spain. I've never been there either. But either way, I met so many new faces who I have no doubt I'm going to want to meet up with again. I think there were only about 2 or 3 people at the convention I'd ever met before, and when I'm opened up to the fact that there's this entire cache of hundreds of gamers somewhere in the country who haven't been exposed to the virulent plague that is Matthew Dawkins before, I want to infect them. I know I can't keep things nice, can I?
No,
an impossibility.
That's why you write horror games.
Yeah, for once I will take I am the worst, and I'll wear it with pride. But yeah, it's. The UK does a very good trade in these small conventions, run out of lodges, run out of village halls and town halls and convention centres and so on. And they're often quite localised. People don't travel to them unless they're the very big ones like UK Games Expo. And even Dragonmeet, which is in London, is only a one-day convention, which I think puts a lot of people off from travelling to it.
Right.
Understandably, you know, London costs quite a lot to stay there, and the cost of travel on top of that as well may be off-putting some people. But I think one thing I would say to any listeners who do happen to be British or indeed European and are interested in travelling to any of these smaller conventions, if what you're doing is travelling to get lots of gaming in, you don't need to go to a UK Games Expo or travel across the Atlantic to go to Gen Con for that. You can attend a Tabletop Scotland and have a fantastic time playing games you've never heard of with people you've never met. And it can certainly be worth your while doing so. It's what I came away feeling like. The trip I made, I flew up to Scotland rather than catching the train, and it was definitely worthwhile doing so.
Yeah, I do feel like smaller shows, if you know what you're going to the show to do, like if you're going there to game, if you're going there for business or whatever, it allows you a lot more flexibility and just it's a slower pace because there's not as much to do. So you can settle down, you can talk to friends, you can enjoy a nice meal, whatever. And those are really attractive in a very different way than a larger show. I mean, larger show is in some way going to be spectacle. It's like, and it's just, oh my God, there's so much to do and so much stuff. And that's also enjoyable in a very different way. So I think you're right. They're both valuable in different approaches and worth the trip in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing.
Sorry, you go ahead, Dixie.
Yeah, like just because I like DragonCon and I like Gen Con, I like PAX Unplugged, like I also love Midwinter.
Yeah, totally.
Which we go to every year, and we talk about it because Midwinter is only a few hundred people. And it's very, very tiny and very intimate. And you see the same people in the bar, every night, and the same people in different games. And it's really fun. It's really nice. And last year at Midwinter, I orchestrated a karaoke night on Thursday night because I found a karaoke bar, and we just left, and it started with 9 or 10 of us and ended up being about 20 people went and did karaoke, and that was super fun. Mm-hmm. So and you can game all weekend there too if you want, and it's cute and tiny. And then I also love DragonCon because you can watch people walk around, and that can be its own fun. Yep. Like you can just park yourself and just watch costumes walk by for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they all have their own charms.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I really want to go back to Gen Con at some point, but I don't know whether my main desire is to go back there as an industry professional or just as a gamer. I think because it's been a few years now since I have attended Gen Con for fun, I'm really curious to see how much I'd get out of it next time doing that. Whether I'd just be sitting at loads of booths, playtesting loads of games, and involving myself in role-playing games. Because much like with DragonCon, it sounds there's so much going on at a convention like Gen Con, you miss things just by dint of how long it takes to get to things. Yeah. So if you are role playing, and your session finishes with 15 minutes to spare before the panel you're going to get to, those 15 minutes aren't going to be enough for you to get to the other side of the convention center and attend that panel on time. So you either have to plan religiously and be incredibly familiar with the distances and the best routes, because Gen Con is a bit of a labyrinth, or you go by the seat of your pants and you just try and have fun. You don't do as much organized play. You do just drop into games, so that there are lots of drop-in games being run, whether it's RPGs, board games, card games, or whatever, and enjoy that instead.
Yeah. With DragonCon, at least, the one thing about that problem is that they do release an app every year about a week before the con. And so you can go through the app and you can put a little star on all the things you want to see. And then you can look at your days and go, okay, I've got 2 conflicting here. I've got to choose one. Or, oh, this one's right after this one. I probably won't make it because one's in the Westin and one's in the Hilton, Yeah. But the app makes it so easy.
Honestly, PAX had an app too, so and it was very similar. Is for both dev. Actually, there's a PAX app period, and all the shows are in there. So you're able to kind of star a check mark in that case the event. And there's a view called My Schedule, so it just shows you just the ones that you've clicked. And then you click on it, it gives you here's the room it's in, and since that was all in one hotel, it didn't have maps, but for PAX West, there was actually, you click on this, a map of the area, and it says, okay, you're roughly in this space. So, yeah, it was really helpful.
DragonCon also has all the maps, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Gen Con, I believe, has an app as well, but I don't know how good it is.
Yes. Yeah, Gen Con has an app. I don't remember using it last time I was there just because I was working, so I wasn't really going to panels and such. But I remember UK Games Expo had an app this year. Yes, they did. And I think you used it.
Yeah, I did. And that was not bad. Yeah. Because I could put my games in there. And also you got your tickets through the app. No, you had to register through the app. You pick up your tickets manually. That was right. It was a bit odd. It took me a minute to kind of wrap my head around, but once I got used to it, it was great. And again, it helped me kind of keep things on time. It gave me little reminders of like, hey, your game's about to start in 15 minutes, which is very nice. Mm-hmm. So I really feel like if you have a large show at this stage, you kind of really need some kind of app. And I think there are some companies that just do that. There are companies that just make apps for big conventions.
Oh yeah, the DragonCon app isn't like by DragonCon; it's like through somebody else, but it works.
Yeah,
and it's great.
So all the conventions I had ever been to were these sort of fan expos and the like, things that really enjoyed comics, movies, games, and so on. And when back in a previous life, before I got into the role-playing game industry full-time, I was working partly in the financial sector. I don't know why that's amusing. I think it's so different to what I'm doing now, maybe. But I had to attend an investments convention, which is about as dry as it sounds, in London. And I was representing the small company for which I worked as a trainer. That was it. It was all kinds of training facilities and software and presentation software and things like that were being displayed there. And it was a big convention. But this was after I'd attended somewhere between 8 and 12 gaming conventions over the last few years. And I went to this convention quite looking forward to it, for some reason delusionally believing that this might actually be fun. I might get to meet up with some people. We could, after we've been to a presentation, we might go to a bar, have a chat, have a laugh. It was so utterly bureaucratic and dry, and even the sales techniques of the people there were so cheesy. So it was people just talking at you through clenched teeth while they were grinning. And what it really brought to my mind was how personable you have to be in the gaming industry if you're working at one of these conventions. You work at the booths and you engage with the customers face to face. You invite them to play your games or you talk about your product, and you do want to get to know your customer, and they tend to want to get to know you and what you're selling. Whereas when you've got something so, I guess, institutional as investments, there's so much less personality involved. I remember just going there and wishing it was over as soon as I arrived. There were seminars you could only attend if you put down a £200 deposit.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and as the company hadn't paid for that, I thought, you know what, I think I'll give that a miss and catch an early train.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
But I did certainly pick up a lot of brochures.
There you go.
That was it.
Yeah, I mean, swag is an interesting dynamic depending on which convention you go to. Some conventions are really big on giving out some kind of swag, whether it's through the convention or at each booth. Other shows, it's just not really a thing. And to be clear, swag is different from merch. As you specified, swag is free stuff you're given, whereas merch is stuff you buy that's usually some representative of the show in some way.
Right.
So, like, I've been to small conventions like Save Against Fear, which is only a few hundred people. It's about Midwinter sized. But I've got, a fanny pack and a wristband because they're really into the swag, because they come from a place of therapeutic use. They go to a lot of academic conventions, which also have a fair bit of swag with them. So I think he's pulled that piece over from there. Whereas Midwinter doesn't really have a ton of swag, but they have merch. You can buy like Midwinter shirts and I think cats and whatnot. So it's interesting kind of divide. Like brochures is something, like you say, you see it lots of very kind of formal corporate conventions. That's a very big thing. But I don't see a ton of handouts like that. Usually it's cards at game conventions. I have a ton of cards about the different games that are coming out I got back from PAX.
Yeah, I remember when I was at New York Comic Con, I feel like there was a watershed moment there, because there were lots of companies that were still handing out promo flyers for the next big comic book arc that was coming next season.
Yup.
And And I have a feeling that isn't as common now, probably because when I went, it was just on the cusp of smartphones being a big thing. I imagine so much is communicated electronically now, but maybe I'm wrong. Dixie, you probably go to these things a lot more than I do.
I will say that working at the comic shop, they used to send us like flyers still to put on the counter. But it was only for like one thing every couple months. However, with conventions, I know that like DragonCon specifically actually outlawed flyers.
Really?
Because it was such a mess. Yeah, because when you've got, I mean, there's usually like, sorry, my cat is whining at me. So if you hear cats on this, me talking, then there's a cat. It happens. But like, you've got 10 to 20 bands there usually every year, bands/musical artists, because there's concerts constantly. You've got any random vendors or artists or whatever that want to hand out flyers. So DragonCon a while back pretty much said like, no, you really can't. Like, you can hand them out at your booth, but there's no flyering allowed, like ever. Because there were times when like you just see a table or like a patch of floor that's completely covered in flyers because somebody had dumped them all. And they also did away with like flyer tables, which used to be a thing.
Yeah.
You know, folks like leave all their flyers on a table, and they did away with all that because it's like it's a lot of garbage for the hotel staff to clean up after the show. But no, I haven't really been handed too many like flyers and things at cons in the past few years. It's been mostly like you said, either business cards, and even the people who are foregoing business cards and doing like, hey, take a picture of my information, it's on my table, because business cards are also kind of wasteful, actually. Yeah. So yeah, I've been seeing that a lot.
That's a nice idea.
There are quite a few artists this year at Con who had that going on, where they had like a little like, you know, laminated thing on their table or like something like taped down to their table that said like, hey, instead of a business card, take a picture of this and it'll be on your phone forever, you know. So that's kind of cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
So with that, all that talk of conventions, what are the next conventions that the two of you are going to?
Unplugged.
Probably Save Against Fear, right?
Are you going to Save Against Fear?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah, we're doing panels together. I'm a guest.
Wow, cool. All right, that makes the show even better.
Yeah, we're going to do that Sherlock themed escape room.
Yeah.
If you come up early. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're doing this episode.
Listeners, when they say we, they of course mean Eddy and Dixie, not Matthew.
No, we don't invite Matthew.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. But no, we're so that convention is only like 2 hours from me. So
we're
like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm just driving up.
I'm renting a car.
So we're doing Save Against Fear. I guess after that is PAX Unplugged. Yep. Yes. Because that's early December, and then Midwinter.
Which we will all be at.
I will tentatively be at Metatopia.
Oh, okay.
It's been discussed with me and some friends, and I don't live that far from it, so tentative Metatopia. Yeah.
Well, my next one is going to be Paradox Con, I believe, in October. I'll be there for the weekend.
Where's that
with our very own Matt McElroy. That's in Berlin. So it's been a little while since I've last been in Berlin. That was for World of Darkness Berlin, in fact.
Jealous. All these European cons.
Yeah. And after that, it will be Dragonmeet in London, and then it will be Midwinter. I don't think I'm going to any beyond those, but that seems sufficient.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're going to be at Midwinter again, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I now that I'm the proud owner of a Nintendo Switch, I am confident that the flight will be infinitely more comfortable.
Yeah, you just want to take
I couldn't have played games on my phone before then. But.
Yeah, just take a portable charger.
Or
here's a good question. Then, how much battery does a Switch have?
About 3 hours.
Yeah, but I know at least most of the flights I took back and forth when I was living in Ireland, if you upgrade just a little bit, they have the power outlets underneath the seats. So just plug.
I'm sure Rich will happily cover that.
Honestly, might be worth it. It's like, hey, it's like another €50 or whatever. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, if you're listening, Rich, we could do with your sponsorship.
If only Onyx Path would sponsor this podcast.
He's already sponsoring us.
Yeah, we could afford business class flights.
But yeah, no, my Switch was great on the 2-hour flight to and from Atlanta. But I also carry a big, I have a battery, like power bank that holds like 8 phone charges.
Nice.
So I had that in my backpack, and while I was playing, I just either had my phone or my Switch hooked up to it because my phone and my Switch use the same connector. So yeah, it was really easy. It was great.
And which game were you playing?
I'm playing Fire Emblem Three Houses. Playing the crap out of that. I finished my first run. It's one of those games that has very different stories depending on what you choose in the beginning. So I finished my first run and I'm on run 2 now. I think I've put 55 hours into it.
It's actually funny is because I know you've been talking about playing it and Meredith's been talking about playing it, and I started playing the older DS version of Fire Emblem.
Right.
And to tie it all back to the beginning, when I went to go get my tattoo, I was chatting with Maris because she's geeky, and so we talk about games and whatnot. She just learned about Pugmire from me, and so now she's excited about that. But we were talking about video games, and she's like, she's got her Switch like the week before. And I'm like, oh, cool. What game did you get? She's like, Three Houses. And I'm like, really? Everyone is playing Three Houses. And
it's because it's really good, Eddy. It's really good. Like, also, I mean, the Switch games are still a little pricey, unless you get them. I'm assuming there are some used ones floating around at this point, but past that, most of the games, if you like download them, are just $50, $60. So I try to only get games on there that I know have like many hours of gameplay in them. Because I'm like, I'm gonna spend $60 on it. Like, I want to get my $60 worth.
Right.
And me and my boyfriend are sharing it too, so he also will get money out of it. So yeah, it all makes sense in the end.
Yeah, for me it's a family console, but I will of course be taking it with me. So to hell with that.
Sorry, Edwin. Switch.
Yeah. I haven't got Fire Emblem. I instead decided to download a 16-bit-esque RPG by the name of Octopath, which is
Octopath Traveler.
I think so. Yes, Octopath Traveler. It's received some very nice reviews. It's again got the as the name implies. Well, the name doesn't really imply anything. There's 8 starting characters, all in different parts of the world, each with different stories that at some point intersect. But it's very much an open game that you can theoretically play 8 times and get 8 different stories.
I've got that demo on my Switch. I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I'm hoping it gives me a fair amount of mileage, but otherwise, speaking of mileage, I'm playing a lot of Mario Kart.
Yeah, I've been looking at Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, me too. I mean, before I got Fire Emblem, I pretty much was mostly using the Switch for Pokemon Let's Go. So
yeah, I do have the family has a Switch, and so Pokemon Let's Go is on the family console. So I think I'm going to steal that once I get my Lite in.
Anyway, we are going far away from the original topic, and we've exceeded an hour, so that means it's probably just about the right time to ask Dixie, if people want to find you online, where would they go?
Either DixieCochran.com or Dixie Cyanide in most social media. You also find me, at DragonCon every September. That's fun.
I also have another question for you. If you could get this podcast sponsored by anyone, any company at all, what company or individual or product would it be? Because bear in mind, we would get comps of whatever
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, who do I want the most free swag from? Which I mean, I honestly, this is gonna sound terrible. I would not be opposed to one of the various mattress companies that sends out free mattresses because they sound great. But I think I'd probably want to be sponsored by either some kind of electronic thing like Alienware and get all the best computers, or something like a publisher that I could get a shit ton of free books. Probably be the 2 main ones that I would go off. Maybe Tor. One of the publishers, just to get free books. I would have to look at where all my favorite books come from.
Same question to you, Eddy, and of course, where can people find you?
I would probably want to be sponsored at this point by a comic book company, so for comics, because
right,
I'm starting to lose money. How many series I'm starting to follow here?
Image.
Yeah, Image. I was like, Image is probably high up there. Image or IDW are pretty high up there. But if people want to talk to me about comic books, you can find me my website, pugsteady.com, and that gives you links to all my social media outlets on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Instagram now.
And people can find me at MatthewDawkins.com. That's where they can contact me as well with any sponsorship offers. And if I was to be sponsored by anyone, or indeed if this podcast was to be sponsored by any company, I probably should have thought of the answer before I asked the question. You know, I think an airline, some kind of travel company
That'd be
would
cool.
really help. Yeah, if we could say, if we did a little bit that said, I really want to travel to America in comfort, Dixie, but whenever I fly economy class, there's not enough leg room, the seats are uncomfortable.
I can't relate to this problem because I'm 5'1".
Well, you've screwed up our possibility of sponsorship with Virgin, with British Airways. So, on that note, many worlds, one Pathcast.